She was 6 months pregnant, lying on a cold bathroom floor, hiding from the most dangerous man in the city. The problem? He was also the father of her baby. And the moment she thought she had disappeared forever, his door crashed open. What happens when the man you're running from is the only one who can save you? Here on this channel, we tell stories of power, forbidden love, and the unbreakable bonds of family. The kind of stories that remind you what people are truly capable of when everything is on the line. Because no matter how broken a life looks, love has a way of rebuilding it from the ground up. If that speaks to you, hit like, drop your city in the comments, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you never miss a story like this one.
Natalie served drinks at a high society event. The place dripped with old money, making her feel small. She approached a table with intense security. In the center sat Adrian, a king holding court, his powerful gaze locking onto hers. Adrian's voice cut through the silence, demanding her name. Natalie. He repeated it slowly. He then asked a personal question about her dreams. Her deflective answer was met with a single knowing word from him: liar. For the rest of the night, his eyes followed her. The attention felt surprisingly warm. When her shift ended, her manager sent her to the VIP suite. Adrian wanted to see her. Curiosity won over fear and she went. His penthouse overlooked the city. Adrian confessed he had her investigated. He knew about her 3 jobs, her online degree, and the money she sent home. He knew everything. He simply wanted to understand the woman she was. He told her that she looked at him like he was just a man. "But I am not," he said. Natalie should have left, but she stayed and asked who he was. He said he made problems disappear. He also said he saw her and for the first time wanted more than power. Intrigued, she agreed to 1 drink with him. That single drink soon turned into many more. Their conversation lasted for hours, covering everything. "You do not sound like a criminal," she observed late into the night. He explained that the most dangerous men do not need to make threats. He confessed he was dangerous, but promised he would never be a danger to her. "Hurting you would be like destroying art," he told her. He simply asked her to stay, and she did. Their connection felt electric, ending 6 months of deep loneliness. But the bright morning sun brought a wave of pure panic. She had spent the night with a powerful, mysterious stranger. She dressed in a hurry and ran out of the room, ignoring him. A message on her phone was from her friend Marcus. It said they needed to talk right away. Marcus told her the truth immediately. The man she was with was Adrian Caruso, the head of the Caruso Mafia family. The name felt like a punch to the gut. Marcus warned her to stay away, saying that men like him break bones, not just hearts. For the next 2 weeks, Natalie hid in fear, changing her daily habits and avoiding unknown phone calls. She tried to hide her feelings behind her work, but a deep exhaustion and sickness followed her everywhere. When her period was 2 weeks late, she bought a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines appeared on the stick. She was pregnant with a mafia boss's child. Her first choice was simple: she would keep her baby. Her second choice was much harder. Adrian could never know. Imagine being pregnant with a man so dangerous your only choice is to vanish. That was Natalie's new reality. She knew Adrian would use their baby to control her, so she started to erase herself. She found a tiny, loud apartment in Queens and changed her number. She quit her job, telling people she was moving for family. It was a desperate plan, but her only one. The hardest part was leaving the job at the Metropolitan Club. Her boss, Marcus, thought she was overreacting to a client's attention. He had no idea about the real danger. Natalie lied, saying she just needed a change. The loneliness was suffocating. She cut ties with everyone, attending doctor's appointments by herself. She was building a prison to keep her baby safe. Her new routine was exhausting: an accounting job by day and a grocery store job on weekends. She was barely making rent, but she was surviving. The pregnancy was progressing, but fear was her constant companion. She was going to be a single mother in New York City with a life-threatening secret. At 4 months, her pregnancy started to show. Her office coworkers whispered, but her grocery store manager, Rita, was direct. Rita asked if she had support. Natalie admitted the father was not in the picture. The simple, direct concern almost made her break down. Rita's kindness became a lifeline. When Natalie was sick or late, Rita and her other supervisor looked the other way. She was surviving, but just barely. Then the eviction notice arrived. The landlord was selling the building, giving all tenants 60 days to leave, 60 days to find a new home, while pregnant and broke. Panic set in as she searched for apartments she could not afford. She cried on her bathroom floor, whispering to her unborn baby that she did not know what to do. The next weeks were a blur of desperation. She worked every possible hour and skipped meals to save money. Landlords rejected her again and again. She was pregnant, had an unstable job history, and no one to co-sign. She started walking miles to work to save on subway fare. Her body began to give out. She was dizzy and weak. Rita noticed. She told Natalie she had to eat, that the baby deserved better. The words were a harsh, terrible truth. Natalie tried to argue, but her vision faded to black. She woke up on the floor with Rita calling for an ambulance. Natalie begged her not to, terrified of the cost. So Rita took her to a clinic instead. The doctor saw right through her lies about having support and a stable home. She was dehydrated and anemic. Rita drove her back to the apartment with the for sale sign out front. She looked at Natalie and finally understood. "I have a cousin," Rita said. "She rents rooms cheap." For the first time in months, Natalie felt a flicker of real hope. Sometimes the only hand reaching for you belongs to the man you ran from. That was Natalie's reality. Pregnant, with 2 weeks until eviction, her hope had run out. She finally shattered during a late shift, sobbing on a cold bathroom floor. A small kick from her unborn child was her only comfort. Then, a shadow fell over the stall. A voice she had tried to forget for 6 months spoke her name. Through the crack, she saw the expensive designer shoes she knew belonged to Adrian. He demanded she open the door, saying he had been searching for 6 months. With no other choice, Natalie unlocked it. Adrian Caruso, the most dangerous man in New York, stared at her pregnant belly in shock. He asked softly if the child was his. Too tired to run anymore, Natalie whispered yes. The word ignited a quiet fury in his eyes. He repeated her words, noting she had known for 5 months and never told him. He accused her of not even making a phone call, his hands clenching into fists. She defended herself, her legs trembling. He had investigated her life and admitted he made problems disappear. How could she tell him? Adrian's anger shifted when he truly saw her condition. He saw the dark circles under her eyes and her loose clothes. He asked when she had last eaten. She shot back that surviving in the city while pregnant was nearly impossible. He replied quietly that she never gave him the chance to help. She explained she was protecting them from his world and the fate of other women in his life. Adrienne cut her off. He said those women were not carrying his child. He moved closer, asking if she truly believed he would let them come to harm. Natalie honestly admitted she did not know what to believe about him. His tone hardened. He stated she was coming with him immediately. He knew about her eviction in 2 weeks. He gave her a choice: walk out with him or be carried out. She accused him of trying to control her, which was exactly what she had feared all along. He calmly stated that regardless of her fear, she needed help. He offered to take care of her and the baby until she was stable. She agreed, but only with conditions. She must be free to leave, involved in all medical decisions, and he could never try to take the baby. The genuine hurt on his face when he agreed was startling. "I would never do that to you," he promised. Natalie finally whispered okay and took his offered hand. The drive to his Tribeca penthouse was a silent blur. Inside, the luxury was overwhelming and a world away from her struggles. Adrian showed her to a guest room that was larger than her old apartment. He insisted she eat something before sleeping. He soon returned with a tray of soup, toast, and prenatal vitamins. He told her to eat all of it. When she called him bossy, his reply was warm, not angry. For now, this was a truce. He finally asked her why she ran away. She told him their night together felt real, but learning who he was turned it all into a fantasy. "You are a crime boss," she said. "I want a normal, safe life for my child." He promised their child would always be safe with him. He explained that his job was to protect people. "The world is messy," he said. "My work is dirty, but I live by a code. No drugs, no trafficking, and never harm the innocent." She asked if he was the killer. He said yes. Instead of fear, Natalie felt a strange sense of safety. He told her to get some sleep. For the first time in months, she did. She awoke to find him in the kitchen. He prepared a full breakfast, insisting she eat for the baby. He had already scheduled a top doctor and even called her job to arrange a leave of absence. His efficiency felt like control, and she pushed back. He apologized, but the power dynamic was set. Natalie demanded some say in her own life. At her old apartment, its danger was obvious. He called the place a death trap. She reminded him that not everyone can afford a luxury high-rise. He had movers handle everything, insisting she not lift a finger. She finally told him how terrible the past 6 months had been. He listened patiently, then made a chilling vow. He swore that she and the baby would always be safe. He promised that anyone who tried to harm them would face a slow and certain end. During the ultrasound, they saw their child for the first time. When the doctor announced it was a boy, Natalie saw tears streaming down Adrian's face. Witnessing the powerful man's raw emotion began to melt her carefully built defenses. They were having a son. At a fancy restaurant, Adrian skipped the line and asked a direct question. "What do you really want, Natalie?" Her answer was quiet. "I want to feel safe and be seen for who I am." His reply was filled with emotion. "You have always been visible to me, and that is what terrifies me." He offered her complete protection, with no strings attached. She wondered, what if I want more than that? Adrian's voice was gentle. "You can have me too, but on your own terms." Later, he finally explained why he searched for her. "That night with you made me want to be a better man. Finding you pregnant and alone, I knew I had already failed you," he said. "You ran because of me, and the blame is all mine." She took his hand and confessed, "I am scared." His voice was honest. "So am I, of failing you again." They agreed to be terrified together, and she moved into his home. Life was surprisingly normal, even with his secrets. His quiet kindness made her fall in love with the real him. But one night, a phone call shattered their peace. He took the call, and his voice became cold and hard. He returned after handling a business problem with violence. He admitted that enemies saw her and the baby as leverage. He promised to kill anyone who threatened them. Instead of feeling scared, she felt protected. She finally accepted that she loved a dangerous man. Weeks later, after seeing their son on a 3D ultrasound, Adrian spotted a black car. The joy vanished, replaced by a cold focus as he prepared for a fight. He put her in their car and ordered the driver to leave. She watched him walk toward two intimidating men. Hours later, he came home with bloody knuckles. Natalie's relief was overwhelming. He explained the Russian Vulov family was sending a message. They wanted to prove they could reach her. Adrian told her he had responded with extreme force. She felt a terrifying sense of safety in his promise. She woke from a nightmare to find him watching over her. He confessed his own fear of losing her and their son. He said she had been right to fear him. She asked him to stop hiding the truth and let her in. One day she asked for the complete truth about his life. He explained his dangerous world and the rival Volkov family. "They believe you are my weakness," he said. "And they are right." His voice turned to ice. "They threatened you. So now I will eliminate them completely. It is war." "I do not want a war because of me," she pleaded. He replied, "This is not your fault, but you are why I will win." He told her she had to stay safe and trust him. Natalie agreed but had one condition. "When this is over, you must build a life our son can be proud of." After a long silence, he agreed. "I promise, I will build a legitimate life for us." Then, he finally told her he loved her. She admitted she loved him too. 2 days later, the war began. The penthouse became a fortress. Seeing his exhaustion, she asked, "How bad is it?" He replied simply, "We are winning." "The Vulovs are losing," Adrian said. "But none of my people were hurt." He looked exhausted. "If something happens to me, promise you will take our son and run. Just disappear." Then one day he burst in. "It's over. We won. Vulov surrendered." Instead of relief, Natalie felt a sudden chill. She had to ask, "What did you do to make him surrender?" "I took his brother," Adrian admitted. "Dmitri is an accountant, not a criminal. I used him as leverage." Natalie finally understood how different their worlds were. He would do anything to protect them. "I have to wall things off to survive," he said. "But you make me want to be better. I will build legitimate businesses for our son." Her heart softened. "I love you too." Their peace lasted exactly 5 days. A man named Antonio Marches arrived. "The commission has concerns about the Vulov situation. They demand a meeting." Natalie saw the anger in Adrian's eyes. "It is just politics," Adrian insisted. "Not violence." But Natalie refused to be sheltered any longer. "I am your family. I am going with you." After a moment he agreed. "But stay close." They met with a commission of 5 powerful men. Adrian was accused of starting a war without getting their approval. He calmly explained his family had been threatened. He stated firmly that their safety superseded any rule or protocol. A powerful man delivered the commission's verdict. They demanded $5 million and control of the Brooklyn ports. Adrian's voice was ice. "Absolutely not. I built those ports." He was told he acted without authority. "I acted to protect my family. Maybe the commission should rethink its priorities." The tension was thick. Adrian stood, declaring, "I'll pay the fine, but the ports are mine. If that's a problem, consider me outside your jurisdiction." It was a dangerous gamble. Finally, a cold smile from the head of the commission. "The ports are yours for now, but you have no more goodwill here. The next time, there will be severe consequences." They left in silence. In the car, Adrienne finally breathed. "That was a mistake. I just made myself a target for every other family." He looked at Natalie, fear in his eyes. "They wanted the ports. That's what keeps you safe. Without them, I'm weak, and weakness gets people killed." Natalie took his hand firmly. "Then we'll face what comes, together. I chose you and this life. Stop trying to shield me from my own decisions." He held her close, terrified of failing her and their unborn son. "Then be the man you promised," she said, looking at him. "You said you'd go legitimate. Start now. Show them you're moving on." He kissed her, full of fear and hope. "Okay, we do it your way. I'll build something our son can be proud of." The change began the next morning. Natalie woke alone and found Adrian in his office, deep in a phone call, surrounded by paperwork. She sat and listened to him speak rapid Italian. "No, the timeline is not negotiable. I need everything transferred in 6 months. I don't care how complicated it is, just make it work." He hung up and rubbed his tired eyes. "That was my lawyer in Milan. I'm buying a legitimate, publicly traded shipping company." He gestured to the papers on his desk. "This is the start of building a new foundation for us, one that is clean and safe." "This is ambitious," Natalie said, massaging his tense shoulders. "It's necessary," he replied. "That meeting showed me how fragile my power is. I can't afford any weakness, not with you and the baby depending on me." He was building something they couldn't just take away. Legitimate businesses offered protection that his old life never could. He took her hand. "How are you feeling?" She smiled softly. "I'm 8 months pregnant. Tired is my new normal. Only 4 more weeks." The reality hit them both. In just 1 month, their son would arrive. "Are you scared?" she asked. He admitted, "I have no idea how to be a father. I don't have a good example to follow." It was the first time he ever mentioned his family. When Natalie asked, he was quiet for a long time. "He was a violent, cruel man," Adrian finally said, his voice flat. "He believed power came from fear. I was 12 when I saw him kill a man. At 14, he turned that violence on me." Natalie froze. "I killed him when I was 21, he confessed. I swore I would never be like him, but sometimes I see his eyes in the mirror. Natalie held his face in her hands. You are nothing like him. You're scared of becoming him. That's how I know. He pulled her into a tight embrace. I love you and our son more than anything. Just then, his phone rang, shattering the moment. After he took the call, Natalie went to the kitchen and found Marcus waiting with a grim look. Natalie, we have a situation. Her blood ran cold. Someone is asking questions about you and the baby. Marcus showed her surveillance photos of an unknown man. He's a professional. He knows how to avoid cameras. Whoever hired him has money. Natalie's hand flew to her belly. Does Adrian know? She asked. Not yet. Be prepared. He's going to want to lock you down. Difficult was an understatement. When Adrian heard the news, his decision was instant and final. Natalie was not to leave the penthouse. The threat had to be eliminated. That's ridiculous, Natalie said, her voice tight. Adrian refused to let her leave for a doctor's visit, revealing a stalker was watching her. He insisted it was for protection, not imprisonment. She gave him a firm deadline, 2 weeks to fix it. Dr. Chen came to them, confirming the baby was healthy and due in about 3 weeks. Afterward, Natalie and Adrian stood in the nursery, both admitting their fears. He promised they would face it together, a team. I found him, Adrian announced grimly. The stalker was a private investigator named Thomas Garrett. He was hired by Antonio Marches, a commission member, to find a weakness. Adrian's voice was pure ice as he explained the threat. I am not going to kill him, I am going to ruin him, Adrian declared. He planned to dismantle the man's entire life and empire. He explained they would disappear to his secure house in the Hamptons until the danger passed. The next day, they were at the stunning Hamptons home. As they watched the ocean, he wrapped his arms around her. He promised to protect their family and build a safe future. And for the first time, she felt completely safe. For a week, their life felt almost normal. Quiet mornings, lazy afternoons, and walks on the beach at night. Natalie cherished the peace, but that peace shattered with a single phone call. Adrian's face turned white as he listened. When he hung up, his eyes were cold. What is it? She asked. The penthouse was hit, he said, his voice dangerously low. A professional crew. They were looking for something. His hands balled into fists. It's a message. He was already making calls, his tone urgent. I'm moving you to the safe room, now. The room was a reinforced bunker in the basement, straight out of a spy movie. This is crazy, Natalie whispered as armed guards escorted her inside. This is necessary, Adrian replied, his voice full of fear for her. I have to go back to the city. Marcus and his team are staying with you. Don't open this door for anyone but me. He had to go. Whoever did this needed to learn that attacking him had consequences. He promised to be back by nightfall. Then he was gone. The hours dragged on. Natalie's gut twisted with fear. Marcus offered vague updates that did nothing to calm her. As the sun began to set, a secure phone rang. Marcus answered, and the color drained from his face. What happened? Natalie asked. Marcus said Mr. Caruso was delayed by a fight. It was not March's. Adrian was tracking a new enemy. He returned at 3:30 in the morning, bloody and exhausted. He said, I found them. It is personal. Adrian explained his father's cousin had planned revenge for 12 years. He tried to reason with him, but was forced to defend himself. He was afraid of becoming his father. Natalie held his hands. You are not him. You want to change. The vendetta was finally over. They were safe. They promised each other no more war, only a new life. They went to the beach to watch the sunrise. For a moment, there was only hope. Then, Natalie's water broke. It was 2 weeks early. In a panic, they raced to the hospital. The labor was long and painful. Adrian stayed by her side, anchoring her through it all. You are the strongest person I know, he said. Then a perfect baby boy was finally in her arms. The world was filled with pure, uncomplicated joy. The moment was shattered when a guard burst in. There was a problem in the lobby. Multiple men were demanding access to the ward. They claimed family rights. Adrian ordered an immediate discharge. The doctor gave them 20 minutes to leave. Marcus returned with a tablet. The footage showed Antonio Marquez with 3 bodyguards. He claimed the commission had authority over their family. He said Natalie was being held against her will. Adrian turned to her. "You must tell him you are here by choice." "If we don't face them, they'll say you were forced," Adrian explained later at the hospital. "They'll use the law to make our lives a nightmare." Looking at her newborn son, Natalie found a new strength. "Okay," she said, "but you don't leave my side." They went to the lobby, flanked by security. Marches was there, waiting, a storm of chaos around him. The moment the elevator doors opened, the entire lobby went silent. "Marquise," Adrian's voice cut through the air. "You're trespassing." "We have concerns for Ms. Brooks and the child," Marquise sneered, his eyes on Natalie. "She's leaving because she wants to," Adrian said. Natalie looked Marquise dead in the eye. "I am here by choice, and I am leaving by choice. My son and I are exactly where we want to be." She leaned forward. "If you or the commission come near my child again, I will file harassment charges and go to the media. I will make your life a living hell." The threat hung in the air. Before Marchese could recover, Adrian stepped in. "You heard her. Now get out before I have you thrown out." Adrian's voice dropped. "You crossed a line when you involved my family." Marchese stared for a long moment, then turned and left. The fight was over. Exhausted, Natalie asked to go home. The drive felt strange after the day's chaos. She held her son, feeling stronger than ever before. Their home was now a fortress of safety. The first night was a difficult, blurry introduction to motherhood, filled with love and exhaustion. A routine soon formed with the help of a nurse. A doctor confirmed both mother and baby were thriving, with a warning to rest. Adrian and Natalie finally chose a name for their son. He would be James Brooks Caruso, a name that connected both of their worlds. Their peace lasted only 6 days. Marcus delivered terrible news about a lawsuit from the commission. They claimed Natalie was being held against her will. The story was leaked to the press, painting them as a villain and a victim. Adrian revealed his bold plan to fight back. He asked Natalie to marry him, not for strategy, but out of genuine love. He wanted to build a real life with her and their son. Looking at him, then at baby James, she gave him her answer. Yes. They announced their engagement immediately. Natalie issued her own powerful statement, shifting the entire story. The news changed from a tale of captivity to one of love. The lawsuit collapsed. They had won, finally free to build the life they truly wanted. Later, Adrian held her close. "I'm getting out of the family business," he promised. "It will take 3 to 5 years, but it's happening." He then told her about his other plan. "I'm starting a foundation to help kids like me, to give them a way out." Natalie's eyes filled with tears. "That's beautiful." "You said our son deserves a father to be proud of," he said softly. "You gave me a reason to change." He pulled her into a kiss. "I love you, Natalie Brooks." For the first time, she felt a genuine sense of peace. Their future would be complicated, but they would face it together. 3 months later, they were married at their home in the Hamptons. It was a private, beautiful ceremony. James, their son, was held by Marcus. Adrian's voice was thick with emotion as he read his vows. "I promise to protect you, to honor you, and to be the father our son deserves. I will choose you every day." Natalie's own vows were simple. "I choose you. I choose this family. I choose our future. I love you, completely." As they kissed, their new life truly began. The reception was small and perfect, and they danced on the deck as the sun set over the ocean, finally free. This new life felt fragile, and he promised a simple future. But life was never simple. They faced tough nights in the weight of his history. Yet she watched the violent man become a father who read stories to their son. He discovered a passion for helping people. "Look at what we built," he whispered in their chaotic, happy home. Natalie remembered all the times she almost fled, but she had chosen to stay and fight. He thanked her for seeing the man, not the monster. She saw a survivor who now did beautiful things. 5 years later, their life was wonderfully normal. Simple texts about school pickups and dinner. Watching their son, Natalie felt overwhelmed with gratitude. This journey from a bathroom floor to a family dinner table was the best one. The hard parts had made them strong. Watching their son sleep, Adrienne quietly asked about having another child. She considered the chaos, then the joy. Yes, she agreed, when we are ready. He thanked her for giving him a real life, for showing him how to build instead of destroy. They had truly saved each other. Natalie's story started with fear, hiding from a man she thought would destroy her. Now, she couldn't live without him. Their life was complicated, but it was theirs. Time for bed, he said, joking about his pancake skills. As she drifted off, she remembered the terrified girl she used to be. That girl never would have believed this future. Natalie now knew the best stories are never easy. They are about the choice to fight for a better life. They are stories exactly like hers. This content was carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful stories with valuable life lessons. Every narrative is crafted to entertain, inspire, and empower our audience. We believe that great stories can change lives, and we are committed to bringing you content that matters. Thank you for being part of our community.